Okay, so today what we're going to be looking at is the coding side of our digital hourglass. What we'll be doing is coding basically for our tilt switch, and then we're going to be outputting a loop if statement to progress up through the loop. So we're going to hit next. So in this instruction, we're going to be working with a tilt switch sensor, and then we're going to be continuing to the next step. So the first thing that we're going to have is a consistent integer declared for our switch. The pin that we're going to be reading from is never going to change, so we can set it with the constant variable, and then switch pin, and then we're going to set it to 8. Once again, this is never going to change, so there's no real reason for us to not have it set as consistent. Okay, so we're going to look at unassigned long variable. So the long is a data type. Remember from yesterday, it's negative 2 billion to positive 2 billion. Roughly, it's 2.1 billion. But yeah, so we're going to unassign. Long for our data type. Previous time is equal to 0. Okay, so the next thing is going to be our switch status. So it's either going to be a 1 or a 0, basically outputting. Whether that means is it going to be tilted vertical and then switched whichever way it's going to be tipped based off of the hourglass. So like the hourglass, you'd tip it, and then the sand would start pouring from the top to the bottom. When that finishes, we could tip it back. Okay. So now we're going to set up these variables. So int, which is integer. Okay, int. So for integer is going to be similar to long, but it's any whole number. I think it's any whole number, whether it be positive or negative. We can adjust that. So we have the switch state, and then we have the previous switch state. The reason why we have both of those is we need to know and compare if the state has switched when we changed it. Okay. And then our LED is equal to 2, because that's going to start our variable coming out for port 2 right here. Okay. And what we're going to be doing is utilizing the void loop function to increase or step up in our formula. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is set our long interval. Now what this is going to do is this is going to set it to 600,000, which is quite a long time. Remember, this is measuring in seconds. So 600,000 divided by 60 is going to be 10,000 minutes. Divide that again by 60. So it's going to be 166,000, or 166, effectively 167 minutes, or hours right here. So if we divide that by 24, we can see, so this is roughly 7 days. Okay. So if we were to run this for 7 days, basically from when we set it, it would turn off starting next week. Okay. So if you want the delay between lights to be longer or shorter, this is the number you change. Okay, so remember, I'm going to put a comment here. Change this for the delay between LED turn on. And I'm probably going to put that, take this and cut it and put it below it. Okay. Okay, so this is the last line of the header code. So now we're getting into the setup. Okay, so once again, we'll change this to adjust how long in between LED turn on. So that was 7 days per one. So that means it would be 7 times 7, so 49 days. Okay, So now we're getting into the void setup. So we're going to look at this. So if we're getting into our first initial loop, okay, so we're looking at for int x, so we're defining x is equal to 2, x is less than 8, so that's going to go up to 7, not including 8. And then we're going to go x plus plus, so that'll increment it up. If we wanted to start at 7, we'd go x equals 7, x is greater than 1, and then we do x minus minus. Okay? Okay? We can bring those back up. Okay? So pin mode x output. And then we're going to end that for loop. And then we're going to go pin mode. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're, instead of setting up pin mode 2, pin mode 3, pin mode 4, pin mode 5, pin mode 6, pin mode 7, so instead of having to do that, we're utilizing this for loop to initialize the pin modes from 2 to 7 as output, and then we're initializing the switch pin, so we're going to be reading input from here into 8. Okay, so that's what that does. We're going to go end of setup. Okay. Now you can put an end to for loop. What I'll do is I'll draw it over Arduino and show you kind of how it shows you where how that actually differentiates in between the loops for that. Okay, so now we're getting into our void loop. So you can see right there, unassigned long variable current time equals mils. So remember mils from before. Mils is the response of the current time, how long the Arduino has been running from that point on. So what we're doing is we're basically setting the current time from, okay, hey, this Arduino has been running for 3 days. Boom, done. Okay, ready to go. It's setting that current time, and then it's probably going to be incrementing up and comparing to our interval. Okay. Unsigned long current time. Okay. So remember, this returns the amount of time since the start of the program. So the current time is the total amount of time that the program has been running so far, counting 1 millisecond at a time. Okay. So we're going to get into our if statement. So if current time minus previous time is greater than the interval. Okay, so greater than the interval that we're setting, so this interval right here, then we're going to set the previous time or current time to previous time. Okay. So if, now I do try to do some spacing for this. It makes it a little bit easier. Some people utilize some comments in between to make it a little easier to read too, and you can see more where we're at. But for right now, at least with this, we're okay utilizing standard spacing, which is just one line following the other. If you like the formatting, go ahead and utilize the formatting. Current time minus previous time. And that's if it's greater than the interval. Then we're going to go to this. Previous time needs to equal the current time. Okay, so what that's going to do is that's going to set that to where we're going to have our next light progress. Okay. Now, obviously, with this, if we were to set it up as 7 days worth of time, that's a little bit long. I'm not going to sit there. The amount of data that would be recorded for that is kind of ridiculous for it. So now what we're going to go is digital, right? LED. Remember formatting. Formatting is going to be very important. If it's all caps needs to happen. If there's a capital letters need to follow. Okay. So an LED plus, so this is going to increment our LED up. Okay, so right now our LED is going to sit at 2. And so then if it hits this, so if this triggers, it's going to increase our LED to the next one. Okay. So now what we're doing is we're going to check to see if the LED, so this is what's known as a nested if statement. What this does is it's going to check, it's going to compare LED's number. If it's equal to 7, which is the double equal sign, okay, and we're going to come back and put some code there. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to come back and customize that code a little bit. We can set it to where all the lights flash. We can go, hey, LED on, bright, and trigger a little bit. We can do that because what this is going to do is going to, hey, we need to put something here to show that our time has elapsed. Okay. So you can see it's going to, after this, so we end our nested if, and then we're going to end the outer if. So if, so end nested if, end outer if. Okay, so our switch state is equal to digital read, so we're going to check to see what the current switch state is equal to digital. So our next statement should be getting into our read statement to see, hey, what's going on? Is it changed? Is it not what it's equal to the previous one? What's going on with it? Okay. And that's going to be involved with another if statement. Okay. So if switch, and this statement, so the exclamation point equal sign means that it's not equal to the previous. So if it's not equal to the previous statement, we need to do something. Now what we're going to do is that if it's not equal to the previous switch statement, we are going to turn off all these LEDs. And that's what the digital write does there. So we're going to go X comma low, which is going to turn those off. We're going to close out of that for statement. So we're going to make sure that LED is equal to 2. So we're resetting that LED there. And we're going to go previous time is going to equal our current time. And then we're going to exit out of that if statement. So this statement right here, once again, what it does is it checks the switch state. If it's not equal to the previous switch state, i.e. we flipped it, it's going to reset our lights. It's going to set it back to LED 2, and then it's going to restart our timer. Okay. So then outside of that if, we have one last thing. So we're going to previous switch. We're going to set that equal to switch state. And then we're going to end this loop. Okay, so that's effectively our code there for this. So once again, it's going to tell us to adjust this interval. So 1500 milliseconds, sorry, 15,000. We're still going to see what that is. So 15,000 milliseconds. So there's 100, so we were supposed to do that and then divide that by 60. So that's 2.5 minutes. Okay, so if we look at this again, so if we divide that by 100, divide that by 60, so that's 100 seconds. So divide that by 60 again, so that's 1 point. So that's roughly an hour, almost 2 hours. Okay, so if we start this, let's see, in function void loop there are 2 errors. Did I misspell that? Yep, I did. Let's see. Because I misspelled it up there. There we go. So now what we're doing is it's checking it, it compared it. So this is going to, once again, this is going to be the long one. What I did was 5,000, so that's going to be roughly 5 seconds. If we go 6,000, that's going to be 1 for each light. Yep. So it compared it. It should be ready to count. So we're going to switch it. Boom. Okay. Well, that's going to be 6 seconds per light. Sorry, I forgot about that. So if we were wanting to do this for 6 seconds total, we'd change that to 1. So we'd stop our simulation, change this to 1, and that would go 6 seconds total. Okay. So it's going to go 1 second. It should go each time that counts up. So now, mind you, I did reset it. So now that it's at 7, it's just going to sit there and hold those on. Okay, so this is where we're at. We wanted to actually put our code in here. So what, like I was talking about, is that I'm going to take this if for statement right here, and we're going to copy it in there twice. Okay. So by doing that, what we're going to be able to do is create a low, so a turn off, and then turn back on to high, so we don't have the timer restarting each time. Okay, so now with that in there, so we used our for loop, so we're going from 2 to 8, so it's going to count back up, and then we're going to go from 2 to 8 and make sure to turn it back on. So it's going to go off, 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 on, on. Okay. And we're going to see this. We might have to put a delay in there. Okay, so we got to figure out why now it's doing that. Because it shouldn't be going in there unless if the LED is incrementing that. So we're going to go LED, so serial. So this is our troubleshooting side of it. So we're going to go serial dot begin. We're going to go 9600. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go serial dot out dot println. We're going to have it print the LED. Oh, did I have? I must have had it misspelled. Okay. So right now it's printing them out. So why is our LEDs turning off and then on? It shouldn't be going in there until that point. So for some reason it's jumping into this if early for it. So we're going to make sure to stop this, and I'll come back to you once when I figure this out and fixed it. Okay, and we're back. So what we did was he did a little change. For some reason, this if statement isn't responding. I even tried it in an Arduino, and it responded the same way. So I'm wondering if nested if statements don't work right within Arduino. So what we did was we did a little differently. What we did is instead of having it just go up to 8 and read there, what we did was we had it go to the LED. So this is going to update, and what it'll actually do is it'll create a neat effect each time it counts up. So if we change this to 2000, it's going to give us every 2 seconds. And so for this, it should count. Okay, we're going to see it down here. We're going to hit clear. Okay, so now it's going to read 3. So it should be every 2 to 3 seconds based off of this, is it's going to flicker, and it should cause it to kind of slow read up, slow read up, slow read up. And you can see that little light flicker right there. Now what's going to be weird with this is that flicker is going to change the time as it goes. So instead of something lasting 6 seconds or 7 seconds or however long you have, it's actually going to be a little differently now that flickers there. You can see each time in here when it actually does it, it slows down the clock up there, and it takes a little bit longer. But anyways, what I want you guys to do is just play with this little area right here, so that if LED is equal to 7, just try something in there. It might or might not work. It might work like how it was before, but something's going on with this nested if statement. And what I'm wondering is if we need to do an if this being first, else if current time, and then going through over there. So I'm thinking that's what we need to do there. So yeah, it'll be great and awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' projects tomorrow. This will be posted here in a little bit. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow to show off some stuff. Thank you. Bye. What's up, bud? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Shoot. I just closed the project window that I was working in. Yeah, good. My lesson that I was teaching completely did not work. Well, it worked up until the point that we tried to customize it, and then it stopped working. So.
This is a great MMO. I can already tell, Jason.
Oh, is it up and playing?
Yeah, I'm playing right now.
Oh, there you go.
I'm a level 4 force user.
There you go.